There's a piece of Social Security law that almost no one in a blended family knows about until they're sitting across from us. And by then, sometimes a decision has already been made. If you're a widow or widower and you remarry before age 60, you permanently lose your survivor benefit from your deceased spouse. Permanently. Poof. Not temporarily suspended, not reduced, gone. That benefit, which could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of retirement, disappears because of the timing of one decision. Today, April and I are going to walk through exactly how Social Security works when there's been a prior marriage, a death, or a divorce, and what blended families need to know before making decisions that can't be undone.
Jerry, let's start with the group I believe this hits hardest: widows and widowers who are thinking about remarrying. What do they need to know?
What do widows and widowers need to know about Social Security before they remarry? The survivor benefit is one of the most valuable features in the Social Security system. When your spouse passes away, you may be eligible to receive their Social Security benefit, which could be significantly higher than your own. Depending on the situation, that can add thousands of dollars a year to your retirement income. Here's the rule that most people don't know. If you remarry before age 60, you lose that survivor benefit. The government's position is that your new marriage replaces the financial connection to your prior spouse. If you wait until age 60 or later to remarry, you keep the survivor benefit. Age 60 is the threshold. Now, we want to be careful here because we're not suggesting anyone time a marriage around a benefit. These are deeply personal decisions. What we see regularly is people who didn't know this rule existed and who made a decision without understanding what it cost them financially. This information should be part of the conversation before a decision is made.
For some people, knowing that rule changes the timeline they were considering. Not because money is the most important thing, but because entering a marriage without understanding the financial consequences isn't really an informed choice, is it? Jerry, what about divorced spouses? Because I think there's a lot of confusion about whether you can still claim on an ex spouse's social security record.
Can you collect Social Security based on an ex spouse's record? And what happens to that if you remarry? You can collect on an ex spouse's Social Security record if the marriage lasted at least 10 years and you are currently unmarried. The benefit is up to 50% of your ex spouse's benefit, and claiming it does not reduce their benefit or affect what their current spouse receives. What happens if you remarry? You lose access to the ex spouse benefit. Now, if that second marriage later ends through a divorce or death, you may be able to claim on the ex spouse's record again, but that's a complicated path most people would rather not be on. The key point for anyone who is married for 10 or more years to a higher earning spouse, the ex spouse benefit can be a meaningful part of their retirement income, and remarriage eliminates it.
What we're really talking about is two separate situations: widows and widowers dealing with survivor benefits, and divorced spouses dealing with ex spouse benefits, and remarriage affects both. Jerry, let's talk about coordination. In a blended family, you often have two people who both have their own complex Social Security histories. How do you think about that as a planning problem?
How do you coordinate Social Security in a blended family where both spouses have complex claiming histories? This is one of the more involved planning exercises we work through with clients because there are so many variables. Each person may have their own benefit, each may have a prior spouse's benefit available to them. The question of whose record to claim on and when can have a very large dollar impact over a retirement that might last 20 or 30 years. A few things we think through together. First, what is each person's own benefit and how does it compare to any spousal or survivor benefit they might be eligible for? Second, what is the age gap between spouses And how does that affect the sequencing of when each person claims? Third, has anyone already claimed? Because once you claim Social Security before full retirement age, you lock in a reduced benefit permanently. And fourth, and this one is specific to blended families, does either spouse have a survivor benefit from a deceased prior spouse that they haven't fully considered? These aren't questions with a single right answer. They're questions that need to be worked through based on each family's specific numbers and goals.
The reason this matters so much is that Social Security is often the foundation of a retirement income plan. The decisions you make about when and how to claim affect every other piece: how much you need to draw from savings, how long your money needs to last, what you can leave behind. Getting it wrong is expensive. Unfortunately, some of the most consequential mistakes we see are ones that were made without realizing they were mistakes. If you're in a blended family or if there's been a prior marriage in your history, whether through divorce or loss, it's worth having a dedicated conversation about your Social Security picture before you make any decisions. That's one of the planning conversations we have with you at White Oak Planning. Link to connect is in the description.